Yeah, team, I guess already is 4-5. So Kamal is also joined. Okay. Varun is there. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we are on the discussion of inventory operations yesterday, right? So we went through this inventory details, what all is capturing after agent is installed on the computer with the hardware specific information, software specific information, and few inventory reports, followed by the action settings that we have. So any questions on that, on what we have discussed yesterday?
Sir, I'm having small doubts, sir.
Yeah, right.
Sir, you have told that we can import the CSV file from inventory computer listener, sir, for updating custom fields.
Right.
In that, how can we add this custom fields, sir? After importing this, we can export this from here, na, sir, in CSV format.
First, you need to add the fields. That adding of the fields you'll be doing under the admin section.
Okay.
Custom field. Here you'll be adding those fields, the field name, right? And the format of the field. And these fields, once you add it here, will be reflecting here under the respective computer snapshot page.
Okay, in these columns, we can get it that fields.
Right, it will be showing up here. So the data that you're exporting
Yes,
will
sir.
be having only the data that is already filled. So the columns which you're wanting to update in bulk in the CSV file will not be there. So you need to add those columns in the sheet, fill the data, save it, and then upload it.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, coming on to the application control, which is a component which we didn't touch yesterday, which is not common in most of the NMS tools that we see today. Okay, sorry, the endpoint management tools that we see today. We see two components or two names here showing as prohibit software and the second one as block executable. Prohibit software is the user that you are restricting from usage. Okay, which means it's already an installed software. It is detected in the inventory scanning and you feel that it is not allowed in the organization as per organization policies and you're wanting to restrict the usage of that application, right? So those restricted softwares is what you will be adding here under prohibited software list. By clicking on add prohibit software, it is going to show us the list of invented softwares. From here, we can move to the right side like this, click on update list. And whenever this prohibit software is detected in the subsequent scan on the computers, if you want to take some action, you can auto uninstall that from the backend. Number of software to install, uninstall from the computer during startup. So you put a restriction on the number of softwares from the restricted group to uninstall during the startup of the machine. Automatically remove the software after 3 days. Probably if it is detected today, it is going to wait for 3 days and then it will be deleted from the user PC. And this is a user notification which will be showing up as a pop-up that prohibited software will be deleted as it is not legal to use. Something like that you can customize, which will go as a pop-up onto the dashboard screen at the bottom. Whatever that uninstallation is happening on the user PCs, those status will be showing up here. Domain, how many count, what is the OS, what is the serial number, MAC address of that computer, followed by product and all. Right? What are all the systems which are having the prohibited softwares is this list. This computer, how many prohibited software you have, this computer, how many prohibited software you have, and what is that list of prohibited software. You click on that number 5, it is going to show you that list. Right? And then if any user is putting a request for access of that prohibited software on his PC, that list will be showing up here. Now you might ask a question, how that user is going to put a request. So from the user self-service portal that we enable on their login, on their end user tray icon here, this user request will be showing up. That we can see it in the software deployment menu. Audit is what are all the prohibited software detected, uninstalled, all that details will be showing up here from an history point of view. Next one is block executable. Block executable is nothing but you will be able to restrict an installation of a software during the installation itself. Right? So what is the case is, for example, I am adding a software here called teamviewer.exe. Okay. I'll add something like this, application name, and the exe name will be teamviewer.exe. So whenever a user is trying to install this particular software called exe called teamviewer.exe, it will be restricted, meaning user will not be allowed to install that exe. For example, the user is very smart enough and he has removed this E there while installing, and he has ran the application. It will run because the naming is not matching. So what we recommend is, instead of going by the executable name, we go by the hash. And this hash value will be unique value for every exe or MSI file, which users might not be aware of. So we can go with the hash value like this and add it, and that will be going as 100% applicable whenever user is trying to install. That particular hash value will be detected. If yes, it will be restricted from installing. That is what the meaning of block executable is, blocking the execution. Okay. So that is the prohibit software and block executable what we see on a very generic note point of view, but not in a detailed manner. The other side, if you're wanting to have a detailed manner of a detailed whitelisting and detailed blacklisting, then we need to talk about this application control plus component that you see on the top right corner. Now, what is that blacklisted? What is that whitelisted? I'll just give you one small example and then we'll go to the other components. I said TeamViewer is to be blocked here. So TeamViewer.exe will be acting as a blacklisted software in the organization. So I add that in blacklisted, which means any to everything apart from the blacklisted will be whitelisted, which means allowed. Okay, that is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is I add some 10 to 15 applications which are allowed in the organization as whitelisted, which means only those 10-15 applications are allowed. The other applications apart from this 10-15 will be by defaultly restricted, which means blocked. So it is going to be a vice versa conversation on blacklisted to whitelisted, whitelisted to blacklisted that we can do in detail on this application control component that we will be seeing when we are on that module. Right? Now we'll go on to the second module, that is patch management.
Sir, here I had a doubt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm Varun, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, whenever we are trying to prohibit or if we are trying to block any particular software, we are getting a contradiction regarding silent commands,
Right.
uninstallation commands.
Mm.
Most of the applications here we are using are third-party applications.
Mm.
We had is the only option we had to get the silent installation command from the vendor, or else if we can get those particular PowerShell or silent switches from any resources.
Okay. So these applications, if it is a well-known application available in the market, you can search online, you will get that arguments online. If it is some custom applications that user is referring to, those custom application scripts and all, arguments and all, we can ask customer to provide it. Or we can ask them to, customer to put a request to the respective OEM and get those arguments.
Okay.
Mostly 60 to 70% of the arguments we can see online itself.
Okay. But here, all even though the customer, our client had option to get that particular command supports from the vendor, but they're just asking us to identify somewhere else from resources, some CrowdStrike. All these were they had personally they had vendors, but even though they are asking for us, can't we have any access in that way using from Joho or some desktop central team?
That is what, right? So what all you see on Zoho or the desktop central forums, right, is nothing but the information that is already known to Zoho team. For example, if you're asking for a new application which is not known to Zoho, you will not see on the database, right? For that, you have to go back to the customer and ask the customer only to get those arguments. So we can make use of the forums which are there online, Google search, to get most of the information. That is what I said, 60 to 70. The other 30% is something which is not known to us, not known to Google, not known to Zoho. So those information will be known to only the OEMs, which we cannot reach the OEMs directly and ask them. So we have to go via the customer to get that information.
Okay.
Okay. Now, coming on to the second component here, that is patch management. That is a critical thing what we have for installation, uninstallation of any patches. And this is a patch management dashboard that we see, where you see the top vulnerabilities information, fixable vulnerability information, manual resolution, so on and so forth, and with some security news that you see on the right-hand side widget. This security news is important for every um, um, security person who is doing a management of the patches in every organization, which will give us automatically all the respective updates of the respective OEMs that they are releasing in the market, right? So we can refer this, and if you feel or think, or if the customer feels or thinks that it is applicable to the organization, we can action on them immediately. This is important, which will be coming up automatically. There is no need for us to refer to the respective OEM websites or the online forums or our newsletters that is going to come into our inbox, right? This is key thing. Apart from this, you see some menus here on the left-hand side column, like threads and patches, systems, and so on and so forth. So I'll not go in this order, but I'll go in the order in the way how you'll be able to apply the patches successfully. Now this is the console where I already have the missing information of my entire organization as missing patches. Okay. These 94 patches are missing currently in my organization. That is coming up based on the inventory that is already detected yesterday, right? That we discussed yesterday. Now, the immediate step, what I have to do is I need to go ahead and apply these patches on the respective resources so that the count will be going down and the systems will be in healthy status, right? How do we apply it? Or when can we apply it is a question. Point number one is in the desktop central console or in most of the endpoint management consoles, every patch that you see as missing or applicable in your organization, you will be able to apply only when the patch is approved. Okay, only when the patch is approved. If the patch is not approved, you still will be able to forcefully apply it, but that is not recommended. That is industry standard. Only approved patches is what you need to take it forward towards applying onto the respective resources. Point number one. Point number two is how you will apply from the system, from this console. If the patch is available, downloaded on the console only, you'll be able to apply the patch, right? So how are you going to download those patches? At the bottom here, you see something called as update now. So this update now, when I click on it, it is going to go as on-demand synchronization of the ManageEngine patch database onto your console, onto this console, or onto the installation that is running at your organization. That is on demand. From where it is going to update patch db.manageengine.com, that will be the address. From there, the respective patches will be downloaded to your server or to your instance. From where it is going to get downloaded, you have a list of URLs, you have a list of IP addresses that need to be whitelisted in your organization. If those are allowed whitelisted in your organization, the patches from the respective websites, respective OEMs will be getting downloaded to patchdb.manageengine.com. From there, it will be updating into your server. So this update now is something which I'm clicking now as an on-demand update right now, right? How long will I do manual action then? So I can go ahead and do a schedule as well. So that schedule, we can do a schedule whenever we wanted to do the synchronization on a daily basis and apply it. Enable schedule at an interval that is 6:56 in the morning and send out a notification to this email address and save it. So what all I wanted to download at this interval is what I'm providing here. Windows updates, third-party updates, like this, drivers and BIOS also if you want to have, you can select those. Mac, Apple updates, third-party updates, anything else is there, you can select those. Similarly, Linux, what all you want to apply, download, that you can check. And we also have something called as supervised patches. What is the meaning of supervised or superseded patches? It is giving you a hint here, Windows only. Superseded patches meaning whenever any patch is being, for example, you see these cumulative updates, you see this service pack updates. Service pack update is nothing but a collection of cumulative updates. So these cumulative updates which are released today might not be applicable in the subsequent service pack which is getting released tomorrow. So this service pack which is getting released tomorrow is being superseded by the cumulative update which is released today. So this superseded patch which is released today is not required when you're directly applying the service pack update. So that is the meaning here. Enable superseded patches. If it is applicable so that we are okay to do the patch operations once in a month or once in a quarter, we can go with this option. If it is going to be a daily operation or bi-daily operation, this is to be unchecked. So that way, you first update your database at an interval, daily or weekly or monthly, regularly. Once the database is updated and once you have all the patches available at your installation, at your console, at your instance, then you'll be able to go ahead and push the patches to the respective resources. That is number 2. Number 3 is you define the computers basis on some rating, how critical they are in the organization from the system health policy. Specify the number of missing patches to determine the system as highly vulnerable. If the system is having one or more critical update missing, one or more important update missing, it is treated as highly vulnerable by default. If the system is having one or more moderate update, one or more low severity update, it is treated as vulnerable. So this way, based on these numbering, what we are rating, showing here, which is by default, we can rate the computer as highly vulnerable, all vulnerable, based on the missing updates on the backend. And here you see, consider only approved patches to determine the system health, exclude all third-party updates to determine the system health. So these are few checkboxes that you can check, enable, disable, based on the call that the end user is going to have, the customer is going to have. Normally, we recommend to have only the approved patches only to determine in the system health policy. So once this is done, we will be having the systems showing up here. Okay, you see here, right? Highly vulnerable computers 6, vulnerable computer 1, healthy systems is 17. So these healthy systems are completely patched. They do not have any vulnerabilities open, so they are good to run. Whereas this 6 and this 1 are to be actioned accordingly, with 6 to be actioned immediately because they are highly vulnerable. So that way, we can target these highly vulnerable computers first and then the vulnerable computers next, with which the healthy computers count will be increased automatically, which will combine to the overall healthiness of the organization. Now you determine the healthy computers, non-healthy computers, vulnerable computers, highly vulnerable computers. Now, how you will be patching these computers is a question. When you click on this highly vulnerable computers, you see the computer name and the details and the number of critical updates which are missing on the right-hand side, right? What are these critical updates? You click on that number 7, that is going to show you all the missing 7 updates which are there in that computer. I can click on install missing updates. You can do this way as well. Or I'll go click on the computer, patches. I directly go ahead and push install. So once you click on that install, it is gonna go with a policy creation wizard and start to apply onto the system. How that policy creation wizard will show up, so all those 7 patches that we have added, right, will be showing up in this list by default when we are coming from this selection. The name will show up with some incremental number like this, and you'll be having these details, scheduler details, deployment rule. Just understand here, scheduler details, install after morning, after 9 o'clock, start the installation of this patch. I'm giving an example here, right? Do not apply this configuration after the time specified below. After evening 7 o'clock, not to apply this policy. Understood? So it's nothing but we are applying the patch update policy here between morning 9:29 till evening 7:30 only. Which means before morning 9:30 or evening after 7:30, the policy will not be triggered, not be applied. Because as per my observation, as per what I see in my organization, most of the users will be live from morning 9:30 till evening 7:30 only, right? So that way I'm defining the interval where the policy has to apply, when the policy has to apply. Deployment rule. Continue deployment even if some patches cannot be downloaded. Though you check this box, mostly this option will be getting failed. So you have the patch downloaded completely and then go ahead to apply it onto the console, onto the respective system. That is option one. Option two is from our server, when we are pushing the updates to the respective resources, right? It is going to copy to the temp folder. From there, the installation will happen. So this meaning is when the copying is in progress in the temp folder, at that time itself start the deployment. You can check this box if there is no interference in the communication. In case if you feel or think that there is some interference in a communication, do not check this box. And here you have applied deployment policy. Applied deployment policy is nothing but, again, what days you want to apply the policy, what notification you want to give to the user while applying or after applying. If it is going for a reboot, at what time you wanted to do a reboot and all is what you defined here in the deployment policy. Those details, you click on this view details, that will show you. Policy name is this. Install option is install during system startup or refresh interval, whichever is earlier. System startup is whenever we are restarting the system. The refresh is desktop central. This application that we are talking will have a default refresh interval of every 90 minute by default from the design. You cannot change it. Automatically wake up computers if they are down during the deployment window is what it is. Download patches softwares during subsequent refresh interval when the agent contacts the server. So as soon as the agent is in contact to the server or the cloud console, it will start to download the updates. Once the download is done, deployment will be started. When are you deploying? I'm going to do the deployment in the 3rd week and the 4th week of every month. 3rd week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 4th week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the deployment window, what I'm giving here is 9 minutes in the early morning, that is 12:09 in the midnight, 6 p.m. as per this window. If any pre-checks that you want to do, wake up plan, yes. User notification, yes. You can enable like this. Post checks is nothing but a restart shutdown. If it is applicable for critical updates, you enable it with some actions like this and you save it. So that we can select it in this drop down. And these names that you see, these are default names. And besides this, you would also see some default ones which are coming in the installation. I guess those are deleted. So you can have a look of what are those default policies. If you feel or think that is okay to your organization practices, you can use that. If not, you can go ahead and create a new policy as per your choice by clicking on create policy like this. So you give a name there. Regular split based on this split on it every Tuesday. 3rd week, 2nd week, or 2nd week is what I say. Days will be all working days I'm marking. Time window is Okay. Download updates, initiate deployment window is what we have, whichever is applicable is what I said. Pre-checks is this, wake up plan, yes. Post checks is this, give a notification to the user that yes, some update is happening on the computer, so that user will also be aware if something is happening on the backend. Timeout window, allow user to skip the deployment. Mostly in development cycle, development computers, you can give this option. But normal user computers, you can ignore this. So because development people, they'll be mostly doing on the coding operation and all, it might go for a force restart, or they might want to skip this restart or skip this deployment at a later time on the weekend and all. So we can allow this option. Allow this and also give a force action if they're skipping it for more than 3 days, right? And this is your restart operation that you can enable it. And for that restart operation, you can put some, uh, like this, force restart or delayed restart. Force restart is irrespective of the user confirmation, system will go for a restart. Delayed restart is you will give a pop-up to the user. Your system needs a restart, some patches are installed, show reboot pop-up every days. You see simple, right, which is self-explanatory. Using these options, we can go with a delayed reboot, which is recommended, and we can, after the patch is installed with this post action, the restart will be triggered. So you save like this, training as a menu, and that menu will be showing up in your deployment window when you are selecting from the deployment policies. Am I missing it somewhere? Restore policy. These are self-created. Just trying to select that option from the drop down. Somehow we are not seeing that. Two 250 are there. It's not showing up here. Okay. Anyways, we'll troubleshoot that later. Why that is not showing up. Okay, in short, what I wanted to show here is testing policy. We gave the name like training, right? Not testing. Okay. So you will apply that deployment policy here, and then you come down and define your targets where and all you're wanting to apply these patches. So when you go with the earlier screen, this screen, right? When you click on install missing patches, the target, this PC, right? DC patch W832 will be showing up automatically. because it is throwing an error, but normally as a patch and all, everything is shown from the same system. The target will be showing up automatically here, that workstation name. When you do that from that wizard. In case if you're doing it manually from the deployment window, you come down here, you do a selection of the wizards like this. Domain name, computer group, dynamic computer group, IP address, IP range, processor, make, model, and type. So you have all these conditions. You can put multiple conditions like this with an AND condition or an OR condition and have the patches pushed with some retry interval as well. So this retry interval is first time I'm pushing the patch which will be going. If that is going to go for failure, it is going to go for 2 times retry. Second time, third time. And one more time during system startup, whenever a system is getting restarted. And one more time during system refresh, that is 90th minute. So 1 plus 2 plus 2, 4. And first time that we are pushing from the policy wizard. So 5 times. So in this 5 times, if the patch update is successful at every 1 point, it will show as successful. If it is failed in all the 5 times, it will show you as failure. And this count increment decrement you can do upon your choice basis on customer call. And also you can enable notification like this on the patch execution successful, in progress, failure, and all to the respective users upon some interval. And you click on deploy immediately. Deploy is when you click on deploy, it will be effective in the subsequent refresh interval, that is 90th minute. Deploy immediate is on demand update, which is going now. Right? So that is the options what all you see in a policy patch policy deployment wizard like this. Right? Going back on patch database, all the patches which are getting downloaded into the console are shown up here under the patches, downloaded patches. Okay. From these downloaded patches, I said, right, that we need to approve the patch, only then we need to take it forward towards an installation. By default, there are some patches from some OEMs in the market, like Microsoft, which will be automatically coming as approved, which will be applicable to every working organization. Besides that, there are some patches which are not mandate, so they'll be coming up without any rating. So it's up to us. We go look into the patches, select like this, and mark them as approved. Okay, so this menu, we can use it for the approval denied operation from this list. Okay. These patches that we are downloading, mostly the build versions, build updates, right, will have some dependency files. So those dependency files also will be getting downloaded automatically from the respective websites. If it is not getting downloaded, we need to refer the prerequisite, and those prerequisites need to be uploaded here manually. Both ways, manual or automated. These are all the dependency packages that you see, the service pack files or the build versions that you have. And here you have some settings to check the patch location where the patches will be downloaded if it's an on-premise installation. If you want to change it, you can change it. Any absolute path which is having a communication. Patch download settings. Download the patches missing in the network. Yes. All missing updates, all approved missing patches, all missing updates is what we go. Then we'll go for approval. Patch download schedule is what it is. Patch cleanup. If you are not cleaning up the patches which are downloaded, installed on the environment, our database size, the drive size will keep increasing. So it is recommended to clean up this space to free up the space regularly. Remove supervised patches. Remove patches which are older than 6 months or a duration like this. And you can clean up it at every 5 p.m. every day. That is default. Notification. Notify when the space of the patch repository is 30 GB. When it is reaching 30 GB, you give a notification so that you can take a call to increase the space or some lesser space than this. Notify download failure every 1 hour to this email address or every 6 hours or every 10 hours. You can notify whenever a patch download is failed. Right? So patch download, patch approval, patch manual installation is what we have seen now. Any questions so far? And if there are some custom applications that are running in the organization and those updates are not published on the internet, those updates, if you want to push in bulk to bulk number of PCs on the network, you can upload those updates here from this menu and get it verified, approved, and then install it on the organization. Browse the file and upload. So this is manual option where you manually upload the files. Example, what I gave is custom applications. Besides custom applications, if your internet access is not good, not sufficient to download the build version files, which are 6 GB, 7 GB, 8 GB files, right? You manually download outside and you come here and upload onto this menu. It will be applicable in that view as well. Okay. Now this testing, the approval, what we are doing is manually by referring each and every patch entry on the console, which is manual, which is time consumption activity, right? On the other side, instead of me doing it manually, why can't I ask the system to do it automatically is a question. Yes, it is possible from this menu called test and approve. Approve patches, test and approve patches. You have an option here. Approve without testing, test and then approve. Take an example, your server operating system. You install some patch and the server got crashed. You are the person to be blamed because you didn't verify what the patch was, what was the implication of the patch installation and all. So for critical updates and for a critical operating system on the organization, it is very much recommended to have the patches tested, verified, only then approved automatically on the backend. So we go this option called test and then approve. The approval patches of the existing patches will be retained and the new patches will be marked as not approved. So we go with retain the option as approved. And you save it. And this test that I'm mentioning here, you cannot do it in all computers, right? Then what is the difference between testing and actual deployment? So you nominate from the entire inventory, you nominate some PCs of similar OS, similar build version as a group and do a test on those. Based on the test result, you take the deployment forward and approval. So to do that, you need to add a group of computers. This is one group which we already have, and the groups where you create is this under your admin section, groups. User group or computer group you can create here, and the groups will be showing up here. You select the group. On this group, you can go ahead and apply some patches and test those. What are the patches that you want to apply? Security updates, all, important, moderate, critical. Service packs, feature packs, rollbacks, non-security updates not required. Patch all applications, patch specific application, that specific applications you mentioned here. Patch all applications except these is mentioned here. For a quick instance, I'm going with all OS and the third-party updates. Third-party updates also, I'm not going with all. Critical, important, and moderate only I'm taking. Antivirus updates, if you want to have it, you check it. If not, you ignore it. Deploy patch after dash date from release. I'll go one day. Tuesday, you know, right? Every second Tuesday, Microsoft is releasing patches. So we can wait for the second Tuesday for the patch to release. The second Wednesday, we can ask the system to go for verification. As per this deployment window that we are selecting, send out a notification. Approval mode for tested patches. Automatically approve the tested patches after 1 day. Okay. Tuesday, the patch is getting released. Wednesday, the patch is getting tested. Thursday, the patch is getting approved if it is successfully installed and there is no problem. Right? Then I go ahead and create. So this way, on this group, that is group A of computers, all the Microsoft critical, important, moderate updates, third-party critical, important, moderate updates will be installed, verified. If the verification is successful, it will be approved automatically from the backend in the next day itself. So that way, the system itself is going to do that operation on the backend, preventing manual action. Manual approval, automatic approval. Manual deployment, also automatic deployment can be done from this APD task, automatic patch deployment task. It's very simple. You go ahead, create a task like this on the respective OS. Again, what are all the updates that you want to automatically install? Critical, important, moderate. Third party, critical, important, moderate. I mean, I'm going with the selection of what I've seen mostly in the market. But when you do that, you can put a question to customer. Accordingly, you can take it. Deploy patches after dash days of release, dash days of approval. After release, anyways, approval is happening. If the release and the deployment that you are putting here, if it is conflicting, it is going to fail. So better we go for approval. Tuesday patch is released, Wednesday patch is verified, Thursday patch is approved, Friday we are installing the patch as per this setting. I go next. The same deployment window what I've selected. And here I'll be defining the targets where this automatic patch deployment has to be taken. Now here is a point. When you're going with automatic patch deployment, keep one thing in mind. Automatic patch deployment is recommended on endpoint OS, that is laptops and desktops with endpoint operating system, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and Windows 11, Mac operating system, Linux operating system of client OS only. Not recommended to do this on the server operating system. Point to be noted, APD task automatic patch deployment not recommended on server operating system. That is a recommendation from ManageEngine, recommendation from Sassify, recommendation from most of the endpoint management tool providers in the market. It's also a recommendation from Microsoft itself. So when you are discussing on this point and going with this target selection, you keep this point in view, give a light on this point to the customer, explain what the impact will be, accordingly select the targets. Right? So here you do a selection of all your targets. When you're selecting the local offices like this, you do enforce and do a selection of the respective groups or respective ranges or respective OS accordingly, is what I say. When I said OS, client OS, you go like this only, ignoring the server OS aside. 7 Vista XP and all are outdated, so I do not have that inventory. I'm going with 8, 8.1, 10, and 11 only. And I go ahead with next. Notifications. All these notifications, you wanted to have it, you can enable it to your respective mailboxes and click on save. Right? So that way we can do all this automatic approval and manual approval, automatic deployment and manual deployment of patches from the patch threat management that we have on the endpoint management tool on the console here. Right? So we just went with the only the basic options, not the detailed menus on the threads, the compliance and all. This is the view what we have discussed is a general view on a patch management point of view, which is there across all the tools in the market. More or less, uh, the options what we see, the selections what you see, the deployment window that you see, the target selection that you see will be same. Any questions so far? No questions? Sai, what is the default refresh interval that we have in Desktop Central?
90 minutes refreshment, sir.
Is it customizable?
No, sir. We can select the option.
What option? What option you can select?
In the deployment services refreshment circle, we are having the option to customize.
Vetri, what is the default refresh interval here on the Desktop Central that we have been seeing?
90 minutes boss is correct from Sai.
Is it customizable?
No, boss. No, not customizable.
Why?
Because all the time intervals are fixed. Because every time they have go and check the systems, it will take some.
Okay.
That's
So this refresh interval is 90 minutes. That is, yes, the answer is correct. And this refresh interval 90 minutes is fixed. You cannot change it.
Yes, sir.
It is from the design itself.
Yes, yes.
In this tool that we are talking, even in the BigFix tool, HCL BigFix also, that is default. 90 minutes is the refresh interval, which you cannot customize it.
Yes, sir.
And Varun, can we suspend the reboot that is going after the patch deployment?
Sir, few patches requires reboot. We can customize for patches whichever required reboot. We can customize that
So my
during
question was,
configuration.
can we
Sir?
suspend the reboot is the question. As a user, my system is going for a reboot now. Can I
Okay.
suspend it?
We can't suspend, sir. After we have configured, if it that configuration is applied in the animation, we can't suspend it. We can suspend that configuration, but we can not obstruct the reboot policy applied on that machine.
That is as per the deployment policy.
Yeah.
The deployment policy is giving the option for the user to suspend for a given duration of 1 day or 3 days, the user can suspend.
Yeah,
If there
those
is
all we
no
can.
option given to the user to suspend, user cannot suspend it. It will go for a force reboot.
Yeah, forces skip it always we can configure.
So Varun, at what interval the patch database will be getting updated?
What interval?
Hmm. You have an answer?
For every 24 hours we have configured. Sir. We can update whenever it is required. Any changes we have made in the network, we are, if there is any obstructions in the patch download, we can generally I used to update manually.
My question is, at what interval the patch database will get updated or synced? Based on the interval that you create, right?
Yeah, yes,
If you're
sir.
putting once in a day, it will go daily. If you put once in a week, it will go once in a week.
Yes.
It is the configuration that you do on the console,
Yeah.
right? Besides that, if you're wanting to do an on-demand synchronization now, you go and click on update now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Kamal, in the patch deployment, can we install the patches which are not approved?
It's based on our configuration machine.
Right. You can push it, but it is not recommended. When you talk about a manual deployment, when you talk about automatic deployment, how it is?
We can't.
It is based on the configuration only. In the APD task, you were seeing an option, right? Push the
Yes.
approved patches only or push. So based on that checkbox, the patches deployment will be taken automatically. It is again based on the configuration. And the patches are getting downloaded at regular intervals and going to a location on the server, right? So can I modify that location, the path? Question to Kamal.
Actually, we should deploy it in OS base. It's not recommended, right? To deploy in server base.
I was referring to this one. These are downloads that we are doing, right? At regular intervals. So these downloads are going into one location. It is getting downloaded to this location on the server, right? Can I customize this path is what the question is. Yes, you can change it. By default, it is going to the default location that is where in the desktop central path. If you do not want to take it in the desktop central path, if you want it to put into some other location outside the server or within the server, you have to provide that absolute path, which is customizable. And cleanup is here, which you can clean up. Of a duration, what are the patches that you do not want, you can mention here, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's it from my side. Any questions from your side, please put forward. Okay, then if we do not have any questions, we'll close the call. Probably we'll resume tomorrow. We'll touch base on these threads